He went to sleep like any other night. But that morning, his heart simply stopped. Silence filled the room, his body motionless, his soul torn from his flesh. While his wife screamed for help, he was already floating above his own body, watching the scene like a stranger. Time stood still, darkness enveloped him. And then, something began to pull him, a tunnel, voices, whispers. And a light at the end, vibrant, intense, impossible to describe. What he saw next changed everything, and what he heard was a mission. If you believe that death is the end, this video will make you rethink everything. Subscribe now so you don't miss any real stories like this one. Leave a like if you believe there's something beyond. And share it with someone who needs to hear this message, because sometimes you have to die to finally understand why we're alive. The darkness didn't come like a blackout. It approached slowly, silently, as if time itself were being swallowed. He floated above his own body, seeing his wife in despair, his children crying, the paramedics trying to resuscitate him. But everything seemed distant, as if she were watching her own death from behind a veil. There was no pain, no sound, only a feeling that something bigger was about to happen. Then he was pulled not by hands, but by an invisible, irresistible force. The environment changed. A tunnel formed, not physical, but spiritual. The walls were made of living shadows, and voices whispered in languages he didn't know, but understood. And there was a deeper voice that said, "It's not the end yet." He tried to resist, but there was no way. It was as if he were being led to a trial. The tunnel narrowed, the air grew thick, and then a light appeared. It wasn't white, it was golden, pulsating, as if it had a life of its own. As he approached, he felt everything he had ever felt in his life. Fear, guilt, love, regret all at once. The light didn't blind him, it revealed him. On the other side, there was a presence. It was not an ordinary figure, but majestic, serene, yet possessing an authority that made the spirit tremble. He knew who it was not because he saw a face, but because his soul recognized it. It was Jesus, and in that instant, everything stopped. Jesus didn't speak with words, he spoke with truth, showing scenes from his life, not the grand moments, but the small ones. When he chose to forgive, when he prayed in silence, when he helped without expecting anything in return. Every gesture had weight, every choice had consequences. And then Jesus showed something more, people he didn't yet know, but who were waiting for him. Lives that would be touched, destinies that would be changed. The tunnel was not just a passage. It was a test. And he had passed it, but not to stay. Jesus approached, touched his chest and said, without sound but with power, "Go back, you have a mission." Then the light went out, the tunnel dissolved, and he fell back into the world of the living. He wasn't walking, he was floating as if time had been deactivated. Ahead, the light pulsed with life, as if breathing. But it wasn't just light, it was presence. And when it enveloped him, he knew. He was standing before something that didn't belong to this world. The atmosphere changed. The air seemed real. And then he appeared. There was no face, no human form. But there was a certainty that pierced the soul. It was Jesus, not the Jesus of paintings, but the Jesus who knew every thought, every pain, every silence. And in that instant, man felt everything, every mistake, every lie, every moment in which he chose ego instead of love. It was as if he were naked before eternity. But there was no condemnation, there was compassion, and Jesus did not accuse him. He revealed him, showed him scenes from his life, not the ones he was proud of, but the ones he had forgotten. When he held a stranger's hand, when he prayed for someone without knowing their name, when he chose to forgive even without receiving an apology. Each simple gesture was a flame lit in the darkness, and then Jesus showed what was yet to come. People he had never seen but who were waiting for him. Lives that would be touched by his words, hearts that would be freed by his story. It was as if time bent, revealing a future that depended on their choice now. Jesus approached, and the presence was so intense that the man felt his spirit tremble. And then, without sound, without voice, only with power, Jesus said, "You are not finished yet." The phrase was not heard, it was felt, engraved in the essence, and a mission was entrusted. Not to be famous, but to be faithful. He tried to speak, but there was no mouth. He tried to cry, but there were no eyes. Everything was spirit. Everything was true, and then Jesus touched his chest. A pain pierced his being as if he were being torn from eternity. The light went out, the presence departed, and he fell back into the world of the living. But something had changed. He didn't return the same. He returned with a mission and a certainty. Jesus is real, and life would never be ordinary again. The silence that followed Jesus' touch was not empty, it was full of meaning. Time seemed suspended, as if the universe held its breath. The man felt his heart beat to a different rhythm, as if it were being tuned to a new melody. And then the vision began. He saw a crowd, unfamiliar faces, eyes filled with pain. Cries that didn't come from mouths, but echoed in souls. People trapped in invisible chains, fear, guilt, loneliness. And in the midst of them, him. But things weren't like they used to be. They were different. There was light in his words, fire in his eyes. Every sentence he spoke broke a chain, every gesture set someone free. He didn't preach, he witnessed, and that was enough. Jesus showed us more than just the world. He showed us how he saw it, not with human eyes, but with eternal eyes. He saw children being forgotten. He saw families being destroyed by pride. He saw souls being lost for lack of a single word. Hope. And then Jesus spoke not with sound but with truth. You have seen, now speak. What I have shown you is not to be kept, it is to be given. The mission wasn't grand in the eyes of the world. It didn't involve stages, fame, or applause. It was simple, yet it carried eternal weight. He had to tell what he saw, to tell that Jesus is real. That death is not the end, that there is a greater purpose behind every tear, every pain, every silence. And that time is running out. Jesus showed a map not of places, but of encounters. People he would still meet, moments that would seem casual, but would be divinely orchestrated. Each one an opportunity to plant a seed, to ignite a flame, to remind someone that there is still salvation. The man tried to speak, wanted to ask why him, but before he could, Jesus answered with a look. Because you said yes, even without understanding, and then the light began to fade. The presence dissolved like mist in the sun. But the mission that remained engraved, not in the mind, but in the soul. He felt a strong, painful tug, as if he were being ripped from the womb of eternity. The tunnel reappeared, the voices ceased. And then the sound of machines, screams, and then a shock in his chest and life returned. But he was no longer the same. He had been marked and now carried a calling he could not ignore. The body was motionless, cold. The doctors had already given up. The heart monitor showed a straight line. The wife wept silently, holding the unresponsive hand. But at that exact moment, something invisible pierced the veil between worlds. A breath, a command, a call. Inside the spiritual tunnel, he felt a strong tug, as if he were being ripped from eternity. The mission had been delivered. The presence of Jesus was receding, but the mark remained. And then, pain, a pain that was not physical, but existential. As if his soul were being stitched back onto his body. His heart, which had stopped, gave a leap, a single beat, then another and another. His eyes moved, his breathing returned. The doctors looked at each other, incredulous. His wife screamed. It was impossible, but he was alive. On the outside, he seemed the same man, but inside everything had changed. He couldn't remember all the details in words, but he felt them. He felt the weight of the mission. He felt the gaze of Jesus still present. He felt that every second from then on had a purpose. In the following days, he remained silent, not out of fear, but out of reverence, as if he were deciphering what he had received. Each heartbeat was a reminder. You came back for a reason, and that reason wasn't comfort, it was transformation. He began to speak, first to his family, then to neighbors, then to strangers. He wasn't preaching religion. He was recounting what he had seen. He spoke of the tunnel, of the voices, of the living light, of Jesus, and of the mission he now carried. Some laughed, others cried, but no one left indifferent. Because there was something in his voice, something that didn't come from his throat, it came from his soul. It was as if each word was laden with eternity. He didn't return to be the same. He returned to be a bridge, to be a witness, to be living proof that death is not the end, and that there is a greater purpose waiting for those who have the courage to listen. He didn't return with answers, he returned with a truth that cannot be explained, it must be felt. The experience didn't give him power, fame, or mystical revelations. It gave him something deeper, a calling. And this calling wouldn't let him sleep. It was as if every heartbeat repeated the same echo. Speak, speak. The message wasn't about religion, it was about reality. He said he saw Jesus not as an idea, but as a living presence. That death is not an end, but a gateway. That there is a greater purpose behind every pain, every silence, every fall. And that time is running out. People listened to him, some with skepticism, others with tears, but no one left the same. Because there was something in his voice that didn't come from his throat. It came from a place few access. A place between two worlds, a place where the spirit was touched by eternity. He began visiting hospitals, prisons, forgotten street corners. He didn't bring books, he brought his presence. He recounted what he saw, what he felt, and what he heard. "You're not finished yet." That phrase became his guiding light, and each time he repeated it, someone awakened. The message was simple yet poignant. Jesus is real, and he is waiting. There were no promises of an easy life. There were invitations to transformation, to surrender, to rebirth. And for many, that was more frightening than death itself. He wasn't looking for followers. He was looking for willing hearts, and he knew that not everyone would understand. But he also knew that some were ready, and for them, every word was a key. Every story, a door. Every silence, a chance to hear what the world insists on keeping silent. Over time, he realized that the mission wasn't just about talking, it was about living. To be living proof that there is something beyond, that the light exists, that the tunnel is real. That Jesus still calls and that death is only the beginning. Today he walks as if carrying a secret that cannot be kept. Because it was entrusted to him by someone who does not lie. And when he looks into someone's eyes, he doesn't just see a person, he sees a soul, he sees a chance, he sees a purpose. And perhaps that's what we lack. To see beyond the flesh, to hear beyond the sound, to feel beyond the touch. Because the message that transforms doesn't come from the mouth, but from the spirit. And the spirit never forgets what it has seen. If this story touched you in any way, then his mission is being fulfilled. And if you've made it this far, it's because something inside you wants to understand more about what exists beyond life. Don't let that opportunity pass you by. Subscribe to the channel now to continue receiving real-life accounts like this one, experiences that defy logic and reveal profound spiritual truths. Leave a like if this message resonated with you and comment below. What do you believe exists after death? Your opinion could awaken someone. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it. Because each video here is an open door to the invisible. And there are many more stories waiting for you, stories of people who saw the other side and came back with something the world needs to hear.